Let's call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Wolf, roll call, please.
Mr. Chair, prior to the meeting, Clerk Shannon and Councilmember Cooney submitted a request to be excused. For everybody else, Keel.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Peavy. Here. Laraway.
Here.
Ferguson.
Here.
You have 5 members present, sir.
All right, and before you is the agenda. Any additions or corrections to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, let's pass it with unanimous consent. And before us now is the consent agenda. Any questions or information about that? I have one, Tim.
Okay.
Agenda item number 5 there, page 24. I cannot remember, and it's not clear from the notes there, because we have Paul Cooney as being excused absence, but then we have him voting. So I don't remember if he came late. I really don't remember.
I believe he did one meeting, he was about 5 minutes late.
Okay, so then we should probably change that to him being here then.
I don't know which meeting, but I'm just saying I do recall.
This was the 26th.
August or what is it?
No,
Everyone was here.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, everyone was here. So he just needs to mark as present.
Okay, just mark him as president. Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure.
Bad back.
That could have been.
Yeah, you're right. He did come in late.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure. He did
Okay,
come in.
I
Yeah.
remember he had a bad back
Yeah.
there sometime and.
Okay, well, I just didn't wanna.
Yeah.
Didn't know what that was. All right, any further questions about the consent agenda? Not, Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Okay,
No second that.
well,
Bob did.
Well, Bob did. Sorry, Bob.
motion made by Davis to accept the consent agenda, seconded by Laraway. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carried.
One comment on budget and stuff in there. I talked with Jessica the other day and we were approaching 90% on taxes turned in.
All right. Good enough.
Is that normal?
Yeah, we a lot of times are a little bit higher right now, aren't we?
Yeah, we're right around 90 at this point. We're at 88 as of.
Didn't the computer go down for a while too?
What's that?
The computer system went down for a few
Yeah,
hours.
we got through that. Yeah, we lost internet, phone and internet, and
Yeah,
everything's cloud based, so that was.
and I was hearing that some people walked into.
Yeah.
Because they're making that, so they may not come back.
It was kind of nice.
Oh, they did.
To take the pay with credit card and that, and that worked on our fireworks collection too.
Okay.
There's an awful lot of them. They're only $1.50 or something.
We've lost another community member that's been around since 1969, David Shoemaker. Passed away, what, about 2 weeks ago?
August 31st.
August 31st. So I wanted to make mention of that. He was a part of the LIPOA board and also served with us on the village council. I want to thank the planning commission. I know they're not here right now, but you guys did a yeoman's job over the last 10 or 11 months doing this new zoning report that I read through that today. It's about 300 pages. And you guys did a fine job on that. So I want to thank everybody. Take those thanks from me to them.
You did an excellent job on that, and we sent it forward with only one part that we were split on.
Okay. Yep. Okay, so I wanted to give my thanks to them and the appreciation of the council too, because that's That's a long tedious job, just reading it, let alone figuring it out. And thanking Tim for typing it all.
We wouldn't have got through it without him.
Yeah. How many term papers does that equal?
It's 241 pages at Elmwood College. That's a light semester. Those are for college.
Listen to it.
That's because he used only little words.
Degree at Central.
So that's it for me. Mr. Manager.
Just a few items to quickly hit home on. Dave McGrath's memorial service is this Saturday at 1 p.m. at his family's house on Queensway. The curve on Queensway just past Equasa. Shoemaker's memorial celebration of life was last week, last Friday, I think, Thursday or Friday. I went to it and it was very well attended. A lot of Lincolnville people there. But yeah, definitely, two back to back, that's,
Yeah.
In other news, one thing that we have done, is we have made a small investment in a software platform called Loomly. And that is a social media calendar post planning software. So we've been able to go through and pre-plan, pre-write, pre-schedule, ready to go. About 30 different posts related to the November election. But we've also got, some code enforcement stuff in there. We've got office closings. We've got, general kind of village information. But definitely it is something that I see is very valuable on our end, just from the standpoint of like, we can sit down now and devote 2 hours a month realistically to pre-plan out all the meat and potato posts that we need to do throughout the month, and then not forget to do it on, the Friday before a council meeting or whatever. It's already done, it's prepackaged, it's out there, it's good to go. So we've used it so far with no issues in the ones that we've had scheduled, since we signed up last week. So if you're following us on Facebook, that is where those will go. That's the only social media account that we maintain is on Facebook. We don't have Nextdoor, we don't have Twitter, we don't have Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and whatever. Right now, just on Facebook. Audit field work is planned for October 3rd and 4th. It's Monday and Tuesday, the first ones in October. If you are available, you are more than welcome to come by and chat with them at any point in the day. They welcome visit from the council. Even if it's say hi, if you have questions, whatever, they are here. They'll happily have any conversation with you that you would like to have. Previously mentioned, we are at 88% of our tax collections as of the deadline on September 15th. We've had a few come in since then. But right about normal where we are. I think our best year might have been 94% at the deadline. But right where we normally are at this point in the year. MDOT sent out an email today about the category group B grant update. Usually they would have that information out in August. They were looking to have an announcement out by the end of this week with potential awards. As you know, we submitted for work on clubhouse here, mill and fill that, and then chip seal, Queensway, Bundy, and part of DeQuassa, part of Bundy, part of DeQuassa for that side of the lake. No inclination one way or the other. They said in their email, they have $3 million they can award and had $19 million worth of projects submitted. So last year it was 22 million for $3 million. So people out there still looking to do road projects, and this category is only for cities and villages under 10,000 people. So this is a program intentionally designed for smaller communities to access, to go after funding for street projects. They just don't fund it like they need to. I mean, they can put 10 million to it every year, quite frankly, and still turn people away. And then we have held our first 2 community meetings out of the 6 that are planned. Both were well attended. The morning one we had probably about a dozen. The evening one we had about 2 dozen, maybe pushing 30. Good feedback, good questions. One question that actually came up in both that surprised me, and I wanted to get confirmation from the council and put it in the minutes so it's there officially. People brought up a concern about, are you going to be doing the big park on the lots up in north? So one of the things that's conceptually in the Parks and Rec master plan would be to have a big community park up off of your road. And my position that I've said both times is no, that is not what this money would be used for. Yes, technically through the ballot language, it could be used that way, but we are very sure that we're gonna use up all of our allotted part of this on the trails. And then probably the dog park if that comes to pass. So there's no intention that I understand from anyone here to do the park up there. It's trail, dog park, maybe, you know, a pavilion next to the office here if we want to try and do a farmer's market, something like that, but that's it. Maybe a sledding hill would be the other thing we could possibly look at. Nothing more. Am I wrong in that? And
No, I think that's accurate because we have to do things for both sides of the lake if the trail won't
sure.
be connecting them. So something has to be done on this side.
And then right in the middle of our website, right in the homepage, bond proposal information. I circled the box so people can see where it's at, but you know, please use our website. Please follow us on Facebook. That's where we've got a lot of posts and a lot of information there. We're going to be updating some of that information later this week. We're going to go and update the FAQ based on some of the questions we got from those first two community meetings. So.
I have one question about the recount thing for census. How much, do you have a ballpark of what that would cost? Because we have to pay for
The first part doesn't cost anything, which is what you have to have done by the end of next June.
it. Okay.
And that is, you have to file an appeal and you have to document the reasons why you are appealing into one of two categories. And, I haven't devoted a lot of time to that. Because it's not due till June, and I figure
Right.
once we get past November, I will have more time probably to look
Yeah.
at that then.
I just thought. I just
But
wondered.
if we do want to, if they deny our appeal and you want to go to the next step, then yes, you would be the one paying to do a recount if that's how far you want to take it.
Yeah, but do we know what that would, how much that would be?
No.
Because it costs us 10%.
Mhm.
Man, that's a lot of money. Okay, that's just the question I have. Any other questions for Tim? Thank you, Mr. Manager. Sherman Township report. I guess Jeff is not here.
Jeff's not here.
Did he submit anything?
Nope, the only conversation I've had with Jeff regarding Sherman Township, Kim can probably attest to it as well. There was a group of citizens who felt there may be some irregularities in the Supreme Court race on the Michigan ballot, so they had a full recount done, and according to Jeff, nothing changed. Is that?
Yeah, we found about 2 or 3 votes off, but nothing that would change. What it was, there was a video out there of somebody and they found something over in Wise. And the gal that ran that, she wanted me to do that, so I FOIA'd that, and we went in there. They thought it was gonna take forever. It took us 2 hours and we were done. And they did appreciate that part of it. So, and they did change their FOIA process, or what do you call it, their rules on that. Apparently they were outdated. We apparently put the spotlight on, they needed to change it. And so they did the upgrade on it. I don't know what it is. They didn't have one handy to show us, so.
Well, they requested all of ours in Word format, so I think it might be similar to what's on our
Well, they
website.
did mention that, but I didn't see it, so.
Okay. Thank you.
And they were still working on that park to, they downgraded the amount of park they're gonna, over there by the ball fields, that they're gonna blacktop, and they're going with right way or something like that. They changed that one as well. But
Okay. The full report, anybody know?
Nope.
Okay.
I would point out that they had a good representation at both the meetings from their board and their manager.
Yes, it was productive, I thought.
Very much
The
so.
very first one was very productive. Okay, let's see, no public hearings, so we'll go to public comment. Mr. Fox. you have any? So I had to comments over. Existing business, range study proposal.
So after last month's meeting, I followed up with Roe. Their response to the comments and questions is available in the packet, and I also included two copies of previous feasibility studies they have done for the village on different projects, so you can see the caliber of work that would be done. They also said that if you would like, they'd be happy to attend a future meeting to discuss further, if you'd like to do that before taking action on the proposal one way or the other.
Okay,
It isn't my understanding reading that they were gonna come out and do some physical elevations.
Yeah.
And at the other meeting, we thought it was just gonna be, everything was gonna be on the internet.
Yeah.
You know, so they are gonna be physically out
Mhm.
there. So,
and their bid stayed the same?
Yep.
Price wise?
so do we wanna take action now or have them come out and explain it?
You guys are, this is entirely in your guys' wheelhouse. I would just say, we haven't had road meeting in quite a while, and we especially have not had them since we've had a lot of turnover on council, so it may just be good to do that just for
Get together
get together, put some faces and names together.
at the next meeting?
I can certainly like them to, yeah.
Yeah, we can do that at the next one. Let's have,
Yeah, it'd be.
see if they can come.
Would, since it's a county road like Coldwater Road, would they get involved at all?
The county?
Yeah,
Not in any financial contribution form, no,
no,
no.
Water from a stone.
Where would you say this project comes compared to maybe other projects within the village, is importance?
I personally would probably, it's almost up to the weather.
Yeah.
You know, if we get a bad storm like we did a few years ago, it's a high priority, but if it stays dry,
Mhm.
then it's a low priority. So that's a guessing game there, really.
But we still would have the fund doing whatever the study comes up to, which could be substantial to do here. And I just wonder, are we gonna be robbing Peter to pay Paul by, maybe there's other areas that need things done.
so it's the low spot between Birdie, like right across from DPW, right? That's like the biggest area of concern. And then,
No, down baseline more than anything.
Yeah, because we'd have to cross baseline. Don't we have to get across the road?
Yeah, where the issue primarily is really close to the baseline Coldwater intersection, the whole area behind the
Right.
bar through there, that,
Yeah.
you know, that retains water and it doesn't drain either way. You know, we have a ditch for our property and that drains, like, our property doesn't flood. But then nothing drains down baseline either. You know, that water is supposed to actually drain towards Coldwater Road to a certain point. And then go through those ditches and out, but it doesn't, it goes the other way right now, and it backs up at your driveway.
Yeah.
You know, it really doesn't make it past the storage units either, because the dog kennel does come up a little bit, so. You know, that area in there is where the big issue, I think, to unplug to get things to move really is.
does it flow to the south down Coldwater Road?
Yes, it's supposed to flow south from pretty much the maintenance barn of the Pines. And then that's kind of the high spot right in there, so that's, you got some coming this way that goes underneath the new storage units out to the old gravel pit by the airport. Everything south of that's running south to eventually try and get right now to our ditch.
So it's actually a bigger area than what you really think it is, 'cause like you say, it comes way up this side of the, you know, the bank and everything.
In, you know, the two sides of the street there are different in drainage, and that from the east side is higher and had better soils, and you know, north of the northeast corner there. The only area where we've seen a lot of flooding is in the ditch area. There's nothing back that goes that way. On the west side, for those of you who remember 17, the whole bank area was flooded. That whole area flooded, then the pond down here
Right.
flooded completely out. All that's Birdie actually in that
Right.
one. I mean, that was significant. And that's consistent with the soil work that we've done over the years to show that side of Coldwater Road has really problematic soils, which is some of the things that we try to address in the zoning ordinance later on tonight. We only own one lot on that side of the street on. One. And then we own the corner down at Birdie. Is that an area where potentially we could do some type of detention basin, something like that? And ultimately, I think this is a couple of different math equations, it's flow and it's storage. Can you store it safely, and then can you move it safely, is what it comes down to.
And this feasibility study will entertain all that, or
They'll point us in the direction of what we need to do to solve those problems.
so
But again,
they'll talk about a dry well and all that other stuff, or.
But I would probably at this point in time ask them to come and chat with you guys about it.
Cause it is a thorny problem. It may not happen, but it only has to happen once.
Well, and I just look, okay, I mean, ballparking it, how much do you think a project like that would cost? And that's a hard question to answer because
Because you don't know what you're doing.
you don't know what you're doing.
If it's ditching, that's pretty simple. If it's, you gotta put in a couple of culverts, okay. If you need to excavate an area and make a larger storage area, your prices are going up there.
Cause I don't see much happening development wise in that area. And I hate us to put $500,000 in something like that, take it away from roads that need to be done. I mean, I don't think $500,000 is what we're talking, but just.
Well, that's what the study is for, though, right? To give us direction on,
Mhm.
it will the study will give us more direction, more information.
And the study's bid was how much? 20?
12-4.
Well,
That's my biggest issue, that's 12 grand to find out you can't afford it,
Yeah, that's where Charles.
It'd be like
Yeah.
spending 12 grand on a set of blueprints to not build the house.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? Like, I guess if,
well, you gotta start somewhere, though. I mean, that's their expertise, not our expertise.
Right. And that's why I put that in my memo, from my end, I'm not comfortable having us use Mally or ourselves to start opening ditches up in that area.
Can't do that.
Just because if we just move the problem down the line, we've created liability for ourselves at that point in time where now it
Right.
doesn't flood this person, but now it floods this person who never had that issue before.
Right.
from a liability standpoint, if we do a feasibility study and you know what the problem is, and then somebody floods, is it our fault? If you know exactly what the problem is,
Because we should have fixed it. Is that
so
what
you
you're
should have
talking about?
fixed it. I mean, maybe you should have prioritized that. I mean, I don't know if we can get, I don't even know how you can talk to somebody. Maybe Jake could, if it was this, could we ballpark it to something and then maybe try to fit it in the budget and then. Like if we had some money set aside so we could go like. We set aside 50 grand. Well, okay, now it makes sense. We have 50 grand in the budget. Now it makes sense to spend 12. Maybe we have to do it in parts. Maybe we can't do the whole project all at once, but we put a culvert under Coldwater Road for one, and then, maybe do some more ditching on Baseline Road, step 2, and make it better and better. But I don't know,
Legitimate.
I just don't know about spending 12 grand to have a plan and then
Find out it costs 200,000.
Yeah.
it costs 200 grand, like, well, where are we gonna get that money from? Now we-
Where are we taking it from? To get there.
Well, like you say, if we have them at the next meeting, that should answer some of these questions too, because they should know whether it would be a liability issue or not.
It was kind of
They
interesting.
deal with this every day.
They did this all for the sewer system. that wasn't supposed to happen, didn't they?
Not
Isn't there,
this.
well, but this had to move water from, sewage from there over through that clay area, didn't they? To the settling ponds, they must have something done.
No,
I mean, in schematic.
Slow.
because in that scenario there, it's based on
We were gonna
a
pump.
set predetermined inflow calculation of these are your RUs, your residential equivalent units. So you don't have to figure out additional capacity and storage and all those intake points. You're dealing with, I think it was 435 residential units at the high end of that project.
Okay.
So that's what you just had to size the system for, was that.
And they had,
And it's all below ground, so you don't have to worry about absorption, you don't have to worry about any of that.
and they had
part of the way.
pumps too. They had pumps that were gonna move it along.
Oh,
I think I remember
I
that.
think so.
Yeah.
Grinder pumps and,
It was a vacuum system, if I'm correct. It's been many years,
well,
but
I'm just talking about, they must have figured out what the elevations were.
ballpark, yeah.
I mean, we should be able to get some idea of how complicated was it for them. I mean, maybe we can't, but there should be some information from them on that. They should have some institutional memory of that.
All the people who worked on that don't work there anymore.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
Steve Clark works at Central now.
I didn't realize.
Craig Scripshima doesn't even work for the company anymore. And he's in Ohio at a different firm.
Well, then it is,
Yeah, I
important-
mean,
it is important for them to come and talk to us though, because,
and that's exactly what I was getting at. I think
yeah,
regardless of what you do on this, it,
right. It's important.
That drain, ditch, I don't know, we talked about if it was a drain of record or not behind DPW. So can we even take water to that? Like, if it's not a drain of record, can we even,
Well, that's where it's all
Yeah.
going now. It's
Yeah.
all going through that
Yeah.
now. On the
so
east side.
Brent's
and the
point
west
is
side
if
of
we
the
add
road.
to that, is that a
Going
problem?
into that.
well, yeah, but if we add to it, if it's not even a drain of record, we can't just discharge water into that.
More water.
More water.
Yeah, we can't,
But yeah,
we can't do it.
right.
Hey, here's a pack.
I mean, it is what it is right now, but like you say, you can't direct more to.
Okay, yeah, let's have them come. But I'm not comfortable voting on whether or not we should get a feasibility study yet. Are you? I don't know. That's is that what I'm hearing? What do you think, Bob?
Absolutely, yeah.
Al, I think you're in.
I think we can talk to them and just table it for a hot minute. I mean.
Yeah.
It'll be more of a hot topic probably in the spring. Let's see what happens with the millage, and then in the spring you get the snow melt. That's the biggest time period where it floods.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
June doesn't have a lot of snow. That was the most recent highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing, so you could not be put on the spot to make a decision with them in your presence next month. I could slow walk talking to our attorney about that question right there about would there be issues on our end if we increase the flow through this ditch since it's not a drain and say, well, we're still waiting to hear back from our attorney before we do anything further.
good idea.
Yeah.
And that's important point to know too. I would suspect we're not allowed to, but
Would the county, you think the county would sign off on digging up Coldwater Road to even put something in, like a culvert?
Yeah, I think they would be okay with that. There's obviously permits you have to go through in that process. You know, the other end of the county equation is do you just go to the drain commissioner and talk about making a drainage district and just take ourselves out of the equation? The negatives in that are costs. That's a far more expensive proposition than I think what we would look at.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk to them about using those lagoons. You know, it's a detention area. You know, I think that might be one of the areas where there is some lack of creativity and thought that we would probably run into at the county level is that, you know, drains to them have to flow into a creek and then a river and then out, you know, where if you can create a drain that is to a detention area that would just naturally absorb and filter over time, like the lagoons over there, you know, that's a perfectly satisfactory answer in my view. You address the water issue and you're returning water to the ground groundwater, surface water, what's the difference in that equation?
Returning to to the water table.
Yeah.
Which will leach into the Chippewa River anyway.
Eventually, yeah. What's that?
As long as the lagoons aren't full of lake
Right,
dredging.
material, yeah.
Okay. So let's, well, we don't have to do anything. Okay,
We don't need to say the table.
I don't think so, because we don't think we have to make a decision now, do we? No.
So we don't need to.
And we-
The table.
There's, yeah. Okay. Wall of Honor, discussion.
In your package, you have a list of individuals that have been suggested, since you last spoke on this topic last month. I did my best to put in, the service of each individual in terms of why they might qualify for recognition. Last time, this came up, the council selected an entire slate and then voted on the slate as a whole. And what about our business? So, and it was a 4-1 vote. At that time, on the ones that are up there right now.
They're all very deserving people.
Yeah, I, you too.
The only one I don't know is the Mr. Gatehouse. You know him.
I know. I do. Yes, he, I do know him. He, I think Mr. Gatehouse, he's actually the genesis of the whole thing.
Correct.
That's, I think the only one that, that could raise an eyebrow would be, Ed Spade. But I don't think you have his whole history there, because he was involved, I think he was, we'd have to, it was part of those records might have gotten flooded out and the thing flooded, but he was there in the early 90s. As far as the building or the LIPOA manager before we had it.
My, not in any way to not be appreciative of the work that Ed did for this community. But since the village got into this program, I've always held the position that you should look at people who were employed by either organization differently than the volunteers that made up the organization. Ed did wonderful work. That was his job.
Right.
This is
Right.
my job.
Right.
This isn't me, volunteering to serve the community. You pay me to be here.
I agree. The thing of that, the only reason that is there is because he was at the birth of it all.
Sure.
If he doesn't cooperate with the Clevey committee and everybody that's on it and the people that were pushing that, it doesn't happen.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's as responsible for the birth of the village as the Clevey committee, because if he doesn't work, he doesn't do it, it doesn't work. He went to many meetings with my dad and Bill Dunham down to Lansing to meet with people.
And the association has named the pavilion after him, or whatever that may count in the equation.
So I do understand what you're saying.
I understand what you're saying too. My only problem is I don't want to make a hard fast rule.
Sure.
Because people, maybe it's a job to do something, but they go over and above their job many times. And I think that should be something we have to take into consideration. And I would point even to somebody like him, you have things that you do on your job. But I've seen you do a hell of a lot more than you're paid for. And I just want to make sure that we still consider people like that.
Rather than volunteered or paid, yeah.
Well, in that sense, they are volunteering. If they're going above and beyond their job and what they're paid for, then the rest of it is volunteer. You know, you see.
Well, and people like Jackie Atkins, he was village president until 2004 when he died of cancer. I mean, he probably still would have been village president, but his George was named in the interim. I mean, he loved it. He did. Yeah, so there's a lot of things to consider. So we had, last time we did it was a slate, and that was about 11 years ago.
2014.
Okay, 8 years ago. So, and there's 3 on there now, or 4? The Clevey Committee,
The Clevey Committee, the first LI2A Board, and the Charter Commission are 3 groups that we recognize. And individuals were Ken Torgerson, Dan Grisdale, and Bill Dunham, I believe.
yeah, so there's 8.
I'm school of future.
8 for the first 10 years of it. I mean, that's 1 a year.
Yeah. Oh,
And how many
I
people do we
don't
have?
think we have
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yep.
6.
Ken, Bill, and Dan.
And we have six people here. Did we do that as a blind ballot thing?
No, I didn't put the names in the publicly facing packet on the website. You have them in your packet
Right.
with like a letter or a number, you know. I could go randomize that right now, and you could all say yes to A or B or whatever with the, 4 people needed to, because 4 people is what it takes to make an action on the council. Okay.
I'm not worried about voting on it, if that's the problem.
No, I'm not either.
But more or less, at this point in time, it'd almost be easier, I think, with all due respect, we say, is there anybody that, wouldn't get 4 votes on that list from the group tonight?
That's the best way to say it.
That's good.
I guess myself, I'd be in favor of all of them.
I guess, is there anybody that isn't in favor of any of them?
I have no problem with them.
This is pretty much on you guys. I didn't live here through a lot of this and stuff, so I don't think, I mean, honestly, my vote shouldn't really count. I'm trusting you guys on this one.
Sometimes you gotta do that, and that's
Yeah.
hard to do.
I think they're
But
all.
I guess the only thing I worry about, are we forgetting somebody?
Well,
But we've talked about it for a
we've,
month and a half.
we've had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there'll be, more,
And
1 every 2 years isn't too bad.
Right,
No, and we talked about it internally here in the office, we talked about these names, is there somebody that we forgot,
Yeah.
is there any of those scenarios, like, what about this person, though, we had those discussions here, in addition to the ones that, I've had with
Yeah.
several people in the council.
That's a good slate.
Yeah.
So I
I make a
think,
motion, we go with it.
I think motion made by Keel, if we accept that slate, seconded by
I'll second
Davis. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
it.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. New business. Resolution 2220.
Mr. Chair, your first item of new business this month is a resolution that needs to be adopted to affirm our compliance with the Publicly Funded Health Insurance Act of 2011. That we provide health insurance via an 80-20 cost share to our employees. We pick up 20 as an employee, you pick up 80 as the village. If you want to exempt yourself from that and pick up more than 80%, you're welcome to do it, but you have to have a 2/3 vote of the legislative body to make that happen. Since the Act's introduction and effective date, we have always done 80/20.
Anybody have a problem with that of the employees?
No,
Anything to discuss?
So we make the resolution just to keep it as it is it?
that's part of the form I gotta submit to MDOT.
Yes, it's submitted.
No, okay. I'll make the resolution or motion, excuse me. Keep it as it is.
We accept resolution.
Yeah, except resolution 2022-20.
Motion made by Davis to accept resolution 2220, seconded by Keel. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Peavy,
Yes,
Keel,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes,
Laraway,
Yes,
Ferguson.
Yes, motion carries. All right. Zoning code map update. The workhorse for the last 10-11 months. You guys, it's a yeoman's job, I'm telling you, I was impressed. And after 100 pages, I said, there's more.
Oh, wait, there's more.
yeah,
and in our last discussion, there was only 4 members of the planning commission present. We were split 2-2 on 1 point out of all those pages, just 1 point. And that was the minimum size for minimum dwelling units that was in the MDR district and like duplexes, condominiums, that sort of thing. What was submitted has a minimum footage of 1,200 square feet.
Yeah, I got it in here over.
1,200 square feet. And 2 of the 4 members present thought that was too high, that a minimum would be better at 1,000. And 2 wanted to keep it at 1,200. And in my role with them, I was one of the ones that wanted to see it drop down to 1,000. But in my role with them is to bring that to your attention. The only point they disagreed on. It was split 2-2. There's only 4 present.
So what were the arguments or concerns for keeping it
The
at
concern,
1,200?
the concern was that some people would want a smaller area, they should be able to have it. And it's only a certain area.
So this would be
An
more like
MDR unit, and we just thought a minimum of 1,200 was too high. I mean, you can always go higher than 1,000. We don't think, we just felt that 1,000 would be, for a minimum, would be more appropriate
for a
for
single
bringing
person.
people in.
Yeah. And this mostly applies to condos and
Yeah.
duplex.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, condos and duplexes. Yeah, it's a very small percentage of that whole program, and it's basically what I would consider a minor issue. But my job is to point out people that we're split on that, so whatever you do with as far as approving this, I'll ask you to consider that too. Maybe you want to approve it with 1,000. If you want to approve it the way it is, so be it.
What did you
I'm one of the ones that wanted 1,000.
what did you think about with the bonus thing, where it could be 6,000 and you could make a unit? What do they call it? I just read this. Density bonus in the code. I have no problem with that. It'd be six
I like the
1,000.
whole program. I'm required to bring to your attention. Sure. What they want.
did anybody look up like what a typical like condo size is? I guess I'm not familiar, with what we're looking at. Approving, like what's normal on it, I don't,
No, we don't have to.
And those units are 1,200 right now. There's 600 on each floor.
Right.
all the ones over here by the golf course, okay.
And
The only one we've got right now.
I just meant like in like Mount Pleasant or surrounding areas, for a condo. What's,
30 by 40
1,200.
is 1,200. My first house wasn't that big.
So, and
My new house isn't that big.
let me go through the presentation before you get into this, and this will
Okay.
be explained in more detail to understand
Alright.
what we're talking specifically about in this instance.
Okay.
So. So why are we here? Question of life. In 2019, we updated our master plan, actually wrote a whole new master plan. Part of the process you go through when doing a master plan is you look at your zoning ordinance, say, these are the things we need to change in our ordinance to make the ordinance match the goals of the plan. Work began in January of 2020 on what was originally planned to be 3 updates to the zoning ordinance to put into practice all of these changes that we put in the master plan. We got through that update pretty quickly, May of 2020. We had started to work a little bit after that on update 2 when this pandemic thing hit. I'm not sure about it. And then, don't know if you heard about this, but we had quite a thorough review and examination of the detached garage rules in our community. That chewed up pretty much all of 2020 and into 2021. After getting through that process, we began to look seriously again at what we need to do to the rest of the code since update 1. And the direction that we had received from the council was, you just want one ordinance, you don't want to continually to have, let's tweak this section, let's do this section. Let's take some time, let's do one and done and live with it. So that's what we've done. So we really got into the weeds on this 10 months ago, November of 2021. And went through multiple meetings with planning commission, went through public hearing with them. A very well attended public hearing. We had this room packed full of people. And came back after that and made numerous changes based on the feedback that we had received that night. The core of what you're seeing in the ordinance reflects honestly a lot of the realizations that we came through the garage discussions. And the feedback that we got that really resonated with us is that the LR1 district, as we know it today, does not properly handle development for areas that were not really platted by the Lake Isabella Corporation in the 60s and 70s. In that particular, you have unplatted areas, some of which were never part of the corporation to begin with, subject to LR1 rules. And you've got what we affectionately known as the Cooley Flats, Bonita Bay, Camino Royale, Bresta Verde, Platinas Point, and even the Ledbetter area, Indian Meadows, which was never actually platted, that have a higher and more restrictive development standard than what you would find. The minimums are in LR1 and also what the minimums are in the building and use restriction for the various flats that make up the LR1 district. So in the LR1 district, you've got Gulf States 1, Gulf States 2, South, flats 1, 2, 3, and 4, Lake Isabella North, Canterbury Estates, part of Air Park, and then the LR2 district, which is kind of the mustardy yellow up on the top left, Woods 1, Forest 1, Forest 2, and Lake Isabella Shores. All of those are the original flats, as we call them. They're the area that really makes up the association with the addition to the Cooley Flats. So nothing on the east side of Coldwater is association boundary. They can all be in the association as special members because they're in the village, but they are not subject to LIPOA building and use restriction. And that was another thing that we took into consideration is how appropriate is it at this point in time to make someone kowtow to this set of regulations when they were never intended to. So the draft that you've got before you, that's come out of the planning commission, the single biggest change that we've made to what would be the land use pattern in the community, is we've taken the LR1 district and we've tried to pull all of that other stuff out that isn't one of those Lake Isabella Corporation plat. So you've got an LR3 area, which right now is a chalet overlay district. So that's Northview, Channel Drive, Channel West. We went in several years ago, when we got the restrictions lifted for the development down there. And threw in an overlay district, and said, hey, we recognize there's still some challenges here with the soils. We want to give you the flexibility to place your home and field and garage, with the greatest flexibility you can, because you might have to put an alternative system in, or you might have to put a larger system in. And when we went through the process, said, why don't we just make that the default zoning for that area? And the trade-off that we had made then, which is what we continue to go through now, is we let you build smaller, but we cap the height, and we do add a little bit of design elements so that the property values don't get skewed on a per foot cost basis. It's one of the things that we wanted to accomplish in that area too, was because the terrain of the area comes down like this, we were concerned that someone built 3 stories, because the ordinance allows 35 feet, that they would do that because they've got to have that smaller footprint to have the larger drain field, so on and so forth. So we didn't want, the tall building to start blocking views that way. And it would be out of character. We don't really have any 3-story homes that isn't a 2-story with a walkout. You can't do a walkout there because of the groundwater level. LR4, and these are all of the coulee flats. And these are areas that do have a higher design standard, a higher square footage requirement. And so, you're right, we need to put these in their own box. Their LR1 doesn't get them where they need to be. And then the orangish color is LR5, what we proposed. And these are areas that were kind of platted. They're not part of the Lake Isabella Corporation. They just got sucked in because of our boundaries. And from just a philosophical standpoint, I think everybody involved said, what, these are areas where absolutely they should not be subject to LR1, because LR1 is based really on building use restrictions from the LIPOA era. So the LR4 and LR5 intended to provide areas single family detached residential development on parcels larger, comprised of a combination of platted, unplatted areas, typically over 1/2 acre, platted or divided after 1990. LR5 areas single family detached homes of a more rural nature than other single family areas of the community. They're made of parcel larger than the average size, which have not been platted. So that's kind of the district purpose for those 2 areas. Those are really the 2 new ones. The LR3 is a copy of the chalet district, it's already there. So one of the things that we put in as an allowed use that would be allowed in LR2, LR5, in like the Coldwater Business District, this side of Coldwater, are carriage houses. Right now, the code requires you to have ground floor residential dwelling space. In these areas, we're proposing to get rid of that requirement so someone could do this. We get this request oftentimes in LR2 right now. Hey, can I build a garage with a 2nd floor for where I live? But nope, you got to have 800 feet on the ground floor. Sorry. And when we look at this area, particularly along Coldwater Road, and we talked about it earlier tonight with the drainage issues we see there. The thing that I think need to try and incentivize is a development that has the smallest footprint as possible in that area. Because the more space you cover with impermeable surface, whether it's driveway, roof, sidewalks, whatever, the more drainage problems you're going to get. Because you've taken away what little natural drainage is going to occur, and you're just forcing it to run off into the ditch, into your neighbors, or on the golf course. So this is a new concept. Talked about it at length through the planning commission. It's talked about several years ago as well. And I think we found the right areas where this could work in the community. One other big substantive change that came out from the public hearing process actually was a change in how we figure out your building size. So right there at the top, is what the current definition of the footprint is. And it's pretty much where the structure is occupied by posts, foundation, beams, piers, in the ground. So if you build a garage, you throw a lean-to on the side, and that lean-to is got posts going in the ground. We base the outside of the footprint on where those posts are. The planning commission talked about this and said, no, this is not appropriate. Your footprint is where basically the walls hit the ground. Foundation meets the wall. So this is a change that is made in the draft without reducing any of the allowed square footages around garages at all. So it does add considerable flexibility to garage size and design. Because now if someone does a lean-to like this, and as long as it's not enclosed, it doesn't count towards your garage size, is what is proposed in the ordinance. We do limit your eaves to no more than 2 feet. So what you see on the right could not happen. Again. That's an instance where they did that roof because they store stuff under it and they wanted a bigger garage to begin with.
We had 2 of those, don't we?
Yeah, we've got a couple that have pretty obnoxiously huge overhangs on it. One thing that is in the ordinance, only in the LR5, so those are the unplatted, is the ability to do an accessory dwelling unit. And this came up through discussion, and ultimately it was originally proposed in the LR4 and the LR5 district. We also originally proposed bed and breakfast in LR4 and LR5. The public feedback was very clear that neither of those were suitable in LR4. So we took them out, we still left them in LR5. And originally we had it the exact opposite of this, where the accessory dwelling unit had to be part of the primary dwelling unit. And we came back and said, let's actually flip this. Let's make it something that is not part of the primary dwelling unit. Because that would be something we think easier in the future to convert into, a non-dwelling unit if you needed to, as opposed to basically building a second unit onto your home. But the intent with this was, if you've got a family member that, has some care needs and you want them to still be close as opposed to putting them into a different assisted living type situation, there needs to be some flexibility to allow that in the village in terms of, mom, grandma, aunt, whoever, they can live with us. They still have a high degree of independence, but they do need someone there occasionally to, check in on them. This is something that we saw as a way to help our community age in place and to add diversity into what people could do on their property in terms of housing and development. So the point that we were talking about earlier, in terms of attached dwelling unit sizes, the discussion came up surrounding what we're calling it's currently LR3, but it's a condo area, medium density residential. And if you go back to the map, it's the fuchsia area right there. It's the only area where this discussion is relevant, is what you want to do here at the condo area. And so the 2 areas where you would allow, or 3 areas where there's an allowed type of attached dwelling unit scenario, LR2 allows duplexes in the ordinance. And so does, I'm just gonna call it the condo area so we all know what we're talking about, the condo area. The apartment units, LR5, in the condo area, and then the condo townhouse in the condo area. And why this came up around the condo area in particular is that area still allows for detached single family homes that have a minimum dwelling area of 1,200 square feet. So when I drafted this is the original draft. This is what they didn't change it. They left it as originally in the ordinance. I kept those dwelling units consistent with what you would have to do if you were building a home. Because it's the condo area, because it's Fairway Drive, because of the proximity to the neighborhood, to me, I did not feel that was an area where scaling back that size was in harmony with the neighborhood. It's different in LR5, it's different in LR2. In the discussion, there was a great suggestion from the audience, which I think would be a good change, is that 5 units at 1,200 is the same as 6 units at 1,000. So if you're gonna build a condo, if you're gonna have 6 units, then drop down to 1,000. That building there is 8 units. So I think that would be a good way to incentivize a project like that. But again, one of the things that more than anything, I think, puts a cap on our development is a lack of sewer and water. So all these are gonna be dependent upon an on-site wastewater system and an on-site well in some capacity. So density is not a big thing that's gonna be coming just because of how people have to manage those 2 utility issues themselves.
Yeah, it limits the amount, how much could, because we don't have a sewer
Yeah.
system.
And there, and also, I think, that is a point to consider as well, knowing that they can't, build 80 units there because they have to account for well and septic. Maybe you do shrink it back to 1,000 in those areas.
Well,
That goes
what's
the
the
other way,
requirement?
then makes one more unit, one more group of people.
Correct. Yeah, so, I mean, there's the pendulum swing at, okay, well, you drop that dwelling unit, but you still stay the same size, well, now you're going this way, so. At some point in time, equilibrium does get reached.
Put
That
2 or
way.
4 more people into a sewer system.
Yeah.
Program.
You had any experience, Al, with condos? Cause a family dwelling with 2 bathrooms, and they have to have like 750 square,
Well,
or 750 gallons.
Well, you take a standard residential house, 2 bedrooms is 1,000-gallon tank. Is in 450 square feet of field.
Okay.
3-bedroom is 1,250-gallon tank and 600 square foot.
So
And then after
that problem might take care of itself. If you did that bonus, where 6 units for 1,000 or 5 units for, because it'll be dependent how big the drain field and septic have to be for that unit.
It all goes.
That will be the driving factor.
Yeah.
And you gotta punch a well. It's not gonna take just 1 4-inch well, it's 4 4-inch or 5-inch wells.
Could be.
Not for one. They're usually up here for one.
Well, it better be a big Hummer.
Well, it's not so much the size of the well, the pump that's in the well. You'd have to put, they have pumps that are variable speed pumps. And so obviously, if it doesn't call for much, they run slow, but if it's got a big load demand, then it gets way up. So it, like I say. it
Long
would-
time
would
since I
be-
built, so I don't know all this.
They definitely would have a variable speed pump in it, and.
Well, I'm just thinking about the construction constraints on whoever, if they wanted to put that in there.
If they want
Did,
construction constraint, what's the cost? 200 square feet is a lot of money.
Yeah.
If they want to go in 1,000, I don't think we should price them out of the market.
Well, and like you say, that you're seeing the option of staying at 1,000 or to.
Yeah. That's just changing the minimum.
Right.
And see, the other thought there you could have too is, if you think of the condo area and the ordinance would allow duplexes, apartment units or condos. Are there any of those that you would want to incentivize over the others in terms of, if you choose this option over that, you only have to build 900 square feet or 800, 900, 1,000, whatever, as opposed to 1,200, so.
Gotcha.
In terms of, an apartment building is the same thing in our ordinance as a condo, except that you enter the units from the inside of the building, as opposed to each unit having an exterior entrance. I mean, that's the only difference in our ordinance between the 2.
So that they could build an apartment building, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, and everything, you go in through the entry area to your unit, as opposed to everybody's got a front door like you have over here.
I don't know, if I like the apartment idea. But I don't know if there's anything to do about it. Although you can't make much money with 1,000-foot apartments. That's a big apartment.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about 200 square foot difference. And that's, again, it's an option. You can go 1,200 if you want. Which I don't believe they should be forced to go 1,200. 1,000. They should have that option.
Well, what's the square footage requirements of all the houses around that?
1,200.
1,200. So if you're keeping in the feasibility of what that community is in that area.
So the other side of that though is you do have a lot of people there that have expressed desires to, I don't need the giant house anymore. I do want to scale back and have a more manageable size. I mean, my own thought here, if you're going to incentivize any of these over the other for the condo area, it would be the condo townhouse one, because that is consistent with the development that's already there.
Right.
And those are, they are 2 stories. The footprint for each unit is 600 square feet. So it's 1,200 total. You know, their ground floor footprint is only 600 there per unit.
But if you're gonna incentivize it to senior citizens coming in there, you're not gonna stack them.
Correct. So do you drop it down to 900 then? 1,000.
Well, and that's why we drop, well, you know, we're 1,140 square feet inside our walls, so we've got the thick styrofoam walls, so. And the wife says, you know, she doesn't want to clean a
No.
huge home, she wants a smaller home.
How many
And-
stall
and-
garages you got?
Huh?
How many stall garages?
4.
Well, you gotta have the ground.
There we go. You gotta have the garage.
Part of that first story.
Yeah.
But, and like over to like Isabella, I just sold. 4 years ago, I sold a 1,534 square foot. Last year, I sold a 1,200 and some square foot. For more money, they got out of 1,500. Times are a little different, but the people wanted the smaller one. They didn't want the bigger. You know, it went from 3 bedroom to a 2 bedroom.
I like that suggestion. About 6 for 1,000 or. Well, you can't tell them how many units to build, can you?
No.
So a guy could come back and say, well, I don't wanna build a 4 unit thing, so now what is it? It's gonna be 1,000 or is it gonna be 1,200? Is that the rabbit hole you went down? With the argument, because the guy might say, or the whoever wants to do it. I only want 4 units.
Yeah, and you know, these are the minimum that you would have to build. Nothing stops you from building 1,400, 1,800, whatever. I mean, you know, I don't think that's a market-wise decision. You know, you're not.
Well, then that makes sense. Okay, if these are minimum, then it should be minimum of 1,000. I think it should be minimum
And
of
that's the
1,000 because.
point I made, why are we blocking them in to
Yeah.
this extra 200 square feet?
Right.
Especially if that cost,
You can always go.
pricing people right out of our business.
You can make, you know, if you're a condo person, you'd make a few at 1,000 and a few at 1,200.
But again, my main point is to recognize the planning commission was split on it. Yeah, we're not recommending. Well, we were split. That's the only point we disagreed on. And that was 2 for and 2 against. I would like myself, again, I'm one to vote for 1,000.
I like the compromise idea, the bonus, whatever they call it. I think that's Solomon splitting the baby on that one. I think that's a good idea.
And, you know, why shut down the whole project for 200 square feet? If I could do 1,000, he might go with the project, but he's gotta make them all.
Yeah.
You know, that right there, that's a make it or break it decision right there.
Good point, yes.
So, but like you say, he still has the option of going up.
You know, there's another option that I honestly just kind of thought of on the spot is. You know, say that if the building has at least 6 units, the average has to be no less than a certain amount. That way you allow a developer to come in and say, these are gonna be two 800s, and this is gonna be two 1200s. And now you've got four that average 1,000, but you create that diversity in what they can offer as opposed to everything being a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, because they've all gotta be 1,000 square feet or 1,200 as a minimum.
I like that idea. Cause then you could have 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and you could have 3-bedroom, 2 baths. You could have a couple different layouts. I was looking at some condos on here and everything's between like 800 to 1,000 in Mount Pleasant. Like 1,000's a nice size, 2-bedroom, 2 bath. Yes.
Say that again, Tim.
So if you want, so here's a thought.
Flesh it out.
Let's start with just drop everything to 1,000. But then say if your building has at least 6 units in it, the average only has to be 800. That way, each individual unit doesn't have to be, or 1,000, whatever, but allow it a way so that you could do, a couple 3 800s or a 650 or whatever like that. But the total of all 6 units still hits that number of 6,000 square feet. But you have 2 of them that might be 800 square feet and 2 of them that might be 1,200 square feet.
But you still wanna specify a minimum of 800
Per single.
for a single. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? You wouldn't wanna go smaller than 800. Like he's saying, let's just say 2 of them's 12 and 2 of them's 8, that equals 1,000.
Yeah.
But I don't think you wanna go clear down to 6. Do you? Or let them. If you didn't specify a
Yeah.
minimum, they could go clear down to 400 or
Sure.
300. So you gotta specify.
What's the building code minimum for dwelling unit size? I think it's 400, isn't it?
Oh, we're not going to-
I think it's 400 is the minimum of the building code. I certainly would say you couldn't go lower than 600, but at 800 probably is the more realistic number.
I think 800.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
go below 8.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it. Shoot, we take 11.
I still
20 by 40, that's
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
I mean, the
So-
modular homes aren't much bigger and smaller than
What's that?
single wides, yeah.
So here's how we make that work then. Your minimum is 1,000. But if you build more than 5 units, 4 units, 6 units, pick the unit number, it only has to average 1,000 with no unit being less than 800. So now you can do 3 8s and 3 12s to get your 1,000. Or 3 8s. And, and a 16, and one big one.
Well, one thing about that is that it gives the builder, the option of building 2 sizes.
Mhm.
So that when he markets them.
Yep.
Okay, you can either have a 2-bedroom or a 1-bedroom, and so that helps out his marketable, his feasibility.
I would insist it's on the building, because you wouldn't want someone to say, okay, I'm gonna have one building of all 8s and one building of all 12s, and they just build the 8s and then they never build 12s. It's gotta be in that building.
So you're talking at in apartments or in condo townhouses?
I just do condos. If that's what we want to incentivize, which is what I think we do.
Yeah.
You
So then
you
you
make that one
take
have the,
apartments out of there. Or just not do it in apartments.
just leave apartments at 12 or 1,000.
An LR5 and
No. What does MDR stand for?
Medium density residential.
So what is that property over by the old hub used to be that Sherbones? That's
that's commercial.
is,
It's
but it's,
proposed to be neighborhood mixed development.
it's different. It's neighborhood mixed development.
Yep. Could
they put an apartment there?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't looked, I don't have heard.
You know, like what he says.
I don't want, well, I don't think it could. The challenge of apartments is, once they're an apartment, you don't have the choice of who goes in.
Okay,
Government.
over here,
Government.
same thing.
No, it's condo.
Oh,
Renter, government telling them what to do.
if it's classified as condo, they don't.
I don't think this other land over here will ever be for sale anymore.
Or-
Or other condos. Like what we're talking about right here, it's all owned by Maurice.
It's owned by Jerry, but he's talked about.
Yeah, but they've been talking about doing something with it.
He was a year ago, he isn't right now. His health wasn't good, and,
Well, I think it was his brother-in-law that was talking about doing something.
and they were gonna do it for somebody else, but they bought 2 other lots. I see we dug a hole on Coldwater now,
Yeah.
new house down there.
Yeah. I'm assuming,
Yeah, so that area there would allows condo, townhouse, duplex, apartment, the same.
Okay.
Really? Yep, neighborhood mixed use. Cause that was originally what this area was proposed for, we just took all the commercial out of it.
Surprising me for the hub area. Now, what would you guys do with the bed and breakfast deal?
We left it only in LR5.
Which is what?
You gotta see that chart.
that's kind of the goal.
Orange, the orange.
All the orange?
So that would be Cooley's old house, whoever purchased that acreage. Is that orange?
The vacant area, yes. Not Cooley's house, but
Right. But the
Part that we wanted them to donate, make us
Yeah.
let it know.
and there is kickers in there about, distance from residential dwellings, that kind of stuff as well, but. The LR5 is only like 13 park properties, I think.
It's basically all the way around the border then.
13 is my count.
Now, how did that fellow build that house here? That a while ago.
Before we were a village.
B and Bs overall are not well received.
No,
No,
they were
that's
not.
that's what I was looking at, where could they put them? I don't think we get a permit for that area, because that's low.
So you wouldn't be able to build a house in orange?
Oh, no, you can build a house in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was just talking this. corner,
Swampy.
It's swampy.
Oh, yeah.
This way.
That's all, that's fast.
Yeah.
Or you put your.
That's why
sewer and your-
I've got that.
sewer and your water into the lake.
Yeah.
Same thing,
Go over the lake now.
Houghton Lake. Brown trout.
The neighborhood mixed use, the area in pink would have the same size requirements as the fuchsia in terms of the dwelling unit sizes.
Neighborhood mixed use.
Yeah, because that was
So that's,
Sherba's corner and
he
then
owns both sides of the road now.
Sherba owns all that in pink.
Oh,
And people don't really realize that this lot here is massive as well.
It's huge.
It's a huge lot. And this is plat 3. These are all platted commercial by the building use restrictions. This lot here just is not in any building use restriction. It's part of Woods 1. And it's like lot 117. Actually, it's 115, and then there's like 16, 17, 18. And the building use restriction, Woods 1 stops at like 114. And like, it doesn't mention the other 6 lots at all. Like,
Hmm.
God bless you, children, do what you want.
You think Mike knows that?
Mike absolutely knows that, yes.
I'm surprised. he hasn't
Mike is the
done-
one that pointed it out to me.
I'm surprised he hasn't done something.
And, and then this area over here on Coldwater Road, the west side here. That was one thing that really got hit home as we delved deeper into this, is that unless you've got realistically 3 lots, you can't do anything of a commercial nature there.
Well, that's low too.
And then the south side of that stretch south of baseline is all individually owned.
And right where that arrow is that ours? Close there,
Where did the road go?
right up there.
Yeah, we own,
Both sides of the road going.
no, just there.
Just there.
On the corner and the one coming back on Birdie, and then there's two,
Three, it looks like.
2 or 3 to the south of us there that we don't own.
See, the one area that I tried to get people to get and do was right along here. Tried to get them to do housing in there. And they were ready to go and try it. Except they wanted to sell them and not rent them. Because they couldn't turn their money over quick enough for rental.
Right up there in the corner of Coldwater and Clubhouse. It's right out here, right? The blue is commercial.
Yeah.
Is it zone commercial now?
So in West Coldwater business, but yeah,
You know,
it is.
what, is she getting a, tax break on that
Who's that?
for a living?
Who's that?
Isn't that?
Houses in there.
The property assessment code is not the same as zoning, so the
Okay,
assessor
okay,
has it as a
so
400.
she's not getting dinged for
No.
commercial.
Nope.
Okay, well, Tim, I think you had to, flesh out your idea there for the next meeting, because we're not gonna do this tonight anyway. It has to be introduced, doesn't it?
The council has to, whatever final version you wanna potentially adopt, has to be in that form before you formally adopt it for public hearing.
Okay. So we have to change that if we want to now.
Okay. And that's really cool. As you will see in the cover sheet I put in there, we do need to think about schedule though.
Yep.
Because we are unfortunately getting to that time of
It's the
year,
time of year.
time of season when folks disappear.
But you'll still have 5. Right,
1, 2. 4, yeah. Carol for a while.
yeah, you just gotta do it before Christmas. Put your mom to December meeting, yeah, because if after December,
So if you agree to introduce it at your October meeting, if everything's fine that night. November's meeting is November 15th.
No, it's not.
Uh,
Good luck. Red's going, not for me.
We're excused, aren't we?
Yep.
It's only once a year.
Not just you, Paul won't be here, I won't be here.
I won't be here.
Well, yeah, but you're going to Florida.
But you won't be
I'll be
here anyway.
playing I like turtles.
It'll have to be the week after, which is Thanksgiving.
Which is the Tuesday of Thanksgiving, which is fine.
Either that or the week before. Either one. but-
Is
The issue, if you go the week before, I don't know if we're gonna have enough time to get the publications that we need to legally do for notification out in the paper.
Can't we have a special meeting just for that, push it through?
Well, you could still do it in December. If get
You
a
could, I mean, you
hearing.
could just meet the 22nd.
Yeah.
We, I believe traditionally met that Tuesday. Of Thanksgiving week.
Yes.
People haven't left town yet.
Right.
With
Let's
the
do that in
one
November.
exception.
Let's do that in November. We can,
Plan to meet the 22nd.
let's move
Which is,
the,
it's
is it
And
Tuesday?
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
yeah,
Just a week
just
later.
slide it back a week. Because your December meeting date is the 20th.
And October is what?
October's meeting date is the 18th.
18.
Now, I mean, you could. It would be tough at this point in time to. If you just want that one change, have a special meeting. The end of this week, next week, and you can still make October. But. It doesn't make a ton of difference to me at this point in time. I just want to make sure that when we go
You
to the
have
public
30
hearing,
days.
when we go for the public hearing, we know we have a quorum.
Right.
Because it costs about $600 to mail all the stuff out, and put it in the paper, so it's not an expense I want to do twice.
Exactly.
Well, we'd be able to confirm it in October, right? For the
Yeah.
November one.
Hope so.
And then,
So it'd be smart to do
vote
that in
in
the election and stuff.
vote in November.
Yeah, the election's in there too.
It's the week before the November council meeting. The eighth. So the election on the eighth and council will be the 15th normally, so if you move it to the 22nd, you got a week between.
What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I'd go vote.
I'll be here.
I guess the
You'll be here the 22nd?
I'll be here all the time, liquor.
weekend.
I'm just going to Florida.
I thought you were gonna go up north.
Oh, that's just on the weekends.
Well, I mean, hunting.
Oh,
No, on the 15th, he's talking about.
oh,
No, I'm talking about the 22nd. You're gonna be
Yeah.
here for the 22nd. I'll be here.
No.
You'll be here, Bob?
Maybe.
Bob's gone. Look at this, he's gonna be,
Yeah.
never gone. Charlie's gotta fly back.
I'll fly back, yeah, I knew that was coming.
I'm putting that in the minutes, Bob never gone.
Physically or mentally,
yeah, text your pilot, make sure he's available.
yeah.
Private jet.
Yeah.
You're not leaving until December, are you?
No.
When you leaving?
What's the meeting in October?
The
The third Tuesday, right?
The
And
18th.
what happens on the third Wednesday?
You're
Charlie
gone.
leaves.
All righty. So you wanna put it off until or do you wanna have a special meeting next week? Well, still wouldn't have time. Special meeting still wouldn't give you 30 days, would it?
If you did it before next Tuesday, I probably could, but I don't.
We're gonna go.
It's fine going October, November.
Yeah, let's do October, November. Is that okay with everybody? Any
And that'll
objections?
give Paul and Karen additional time too, or Carol, you know, if they have anything they want to bring forward, then discuss at that meeting too.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and we aren't hearing anything right now, but can still be looking at it. you know.
It's a lot to digest. Okay,
Well, most of them have a specific thing there.
so let's do that then, Tim, October 18th, and maybe the last wordsmithing you have to do under the document, try to wordsmith that. I think we all kind of came to a general consensus that if there's
Yeah.
a unit, it has to average. Is that what we said?
Yeah, I'm fine.
And,
For the minimum.
and, 800 minimum.
Okay,
Mhm.
I like that. I really do like that idea.
Mhm. I think that the bigger controlling thing in the whole thing is gonna be sewer and water.
Yeah, this is actually a builder's problem.
Yeah.
So I see more of a standalone condos.
Yeah.
Going in there.
Yeah, I could see that. Or duplexes too.
Wow.
The same thing. All right. Public comment? Seeing none, council comments?
One question about that, if you allow something in there, would that be possible to do like the Airbnb section? Or are you staying away from that altogether?
That's
For
it,
like
that's like
staying-
our ordinance entirely.
Cause like stay in place stuff, you know. You can see the draw there, you know, like.
Yeah.
Would be turning.
So
Yeah.
our ordinance prohibits anything under 28 days as a residential rental. Ferrello's is treated as a hotel motel zoning for that. He runs it as an Airbnb, but it's in the zoning ordinance that way. So you could do that in a commercial district. But the LR4 and medium density residential doesn't have hotel motel as an option.
But yeah, that's an incentive.
It was just a question, cause I'm sure that if someone saw that and. You know, put together some stuff, you'd be thinking that for sure, I would think.
Well, where that would work the best is, you know, this whole frontage here on Clubhouse is zoned that way to allow it. And the golf course owns up to our building here, so they could do that between the clubhouse and the office here and have a base clubhouse,
Oh, we own 2 lots next door,
one lot,
one lot.
one lot. We own the lot and that's all golf course. There's a cart farm buried in a hill.
Somebody
Get their new carts. I saw it.
Okay, any further announcements? Make sure you mark your calendars the 22nd for November. And adjourned.